Hi, my name is Tim Fredeluco, and I brought Steampunk R2-D2 half scale and several welded sculptures. Okay, the Darth Vader welding sculpture is the second sculpture that I made. It took about 2 or 3 months. Made it with a acetylene torch and a MIG welder, scrap metal from Westbrook Metals, just bent steel over a small anvil and came up with this Vader helmet. Actually, that was the second sculpture I made. The first one was a Terminator arm. Been welding about 10 months right now. I started with the frame, wooden frame, built the frame, welded the feet here, fabricated just cold steel there. This is some Harley pipelines here, some copper siding, Bunsen burners, Harley oil lines. And we have wrenches to remove sink tub drains. Ran the three sets of plywood in here and channeled the electrical through here. Ended up going with just some sheet copper here with steel there. And then turn the little guy on this side. This little knife switch here runs 12-volt system. This is the kill system for the 24-volt dummy vent. Right here we have a fan motor, a little 12-volt motor. Had to fabricate this here. This is actually very thick, 1/4-inch brass, the same as this here. I wanted this inset. I wanted it seamless here, so I had to back everything from the sides. There's no screws. Wanted a real clean design. Boat compass. Went back and forth on this, but I thought it was gave it some cool depth. Made this out of just an old gauge. Took the face off, copper. Did it with black. It didn't have enough contrast. Took it apart again. Went with white. I'm like, okay. This here is actually this is a charging. This is a charging port here. This can determine if you're going to charge the back battery or the front battery. Plug-in cigarette lighter. This is the voltage meter, the voltage of your battery life. Inside the sides here, the speakers are in here. I cut this out of aluminum, threw some brass at the bottom here. Speakers in here, running mini MP3s sequenced with MP3 silence. Then the dome was actually I picked that up at a garden supply in Dallas, had it shipped, and the dome was just basically a half sphere, and an R2 is actually oblong, so I had to weld inch and a quarter steel to the bottom of the dome to give it the height. And still actually not even as high as a R2-D2 to scale, but it was high enough for a nice look on this droid. 9-volt power supply here. Went with some clear mesh just because I wanted the hue of that blue coming through. This is sink guides, hose guides for your faucet. There's some insecticide spray ends. I mutilated 3 bottles at the house several weeks ago and took these off. Fabricated this just out of coal roll. This is a half trinket ornament from Hobby Lobby. Insert brass here. This is brass that I actually sprayed and then did a faux finish on. This controls the light system in the droid. R2-D2 came about after I made the Vader helmet. I fabricated one of the feet, and it was going to be a sculpture. A buddy of mine said, hey, your sculpture work is right in lines with the droid, and I thought about that for about a week, so I decided, okay, I'm going to build a droid foot. So I built the foot, and then the foot turned into a leg, and the leg started turning into, I was like, you know what, I might be able to get this thing to run. And at that point I started, here we are 5 months later, and I have a working Steampunk R2-D2. The most difficult challenge for me for this was, I think, the drive system, figuring it out. Just because it's half scale, a lot of the full scale robots are they use wheelchair motors. I was challenged with that because the size of that motor is way too big for a half scale droid. I ended up using, believe it or not, Nito vacuum cleaner motors. I wanted to use the iRobot because that was the brand A. But I went with brand B because it looked more workable, and I could work a shell or a brace bracket system into it easier than the other. But so it worked, and I went on a whim too. Bought one and I tried it by hooking 12 volts to it, applying pressure on concrete, and it seemed like it had decent torque. I'm like, this may just work. So I ended up going with Nito vacuum cleaner motors.